Beat it, AT.
What is up, everyone? It is Andrew Appear here of Beta AT Production and Publishing, bringing you guys a new YouTube video. In this YouTube video, I will be showing you guys how to make a DJ Khaled type beat. Now, I already have the beat made. I am not going to show you guys. I'm going to actually play the beat first, so you guys can hear and see, well, not see, but hear what we have done and made. This is a more of the anthem type of DJ Khaled type beat. Very Meek Millie, I don't know Jada Kiss actually, but very Meek Mill, Ace Hood, who else? Young Jeezy, I guess, or Yo Gotti. It's like, you'll hear it. Those were the artists that we had in mind. Maybe even Big Sean, maybe even Future. So this is a hardcore trap banger DJ Khaled anthem type beat. It's very loop based, but it sounds pretty dope. I'm gonna go ahead and play it for y'all now. Oh. So that is what we have done and made. It's very loop based. It's only an intro, a chorus, a verse, and a chorus. Pretty much all you need to do after this is pretty much just copy and paste, and then the formula or structure that you have. Now I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up. So this is what we got. It's really not a lot of tracks and a lot of instruments. It's pretty simple and easy. As I mentioned earlier, very loop based, almost has that Brick Squad, Monopoly, Waka Flocka sound. Maybe if I got rid of those hits, it would kind of lose that sound a little bit. I was debating on keeping those hits in there, right there where you could see them. But regardless, it definitely has that Meek Mill, Ace Hood, Canknance, which is a very popular style that DJ Khaled tends to use, since he works with Meek Mill, Ace Hood, and a lot of those artists. That anthem trap art type of sound. Now we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and label everything. This is my fault for not doing it earlier. For doing these labelings, like how I do, like where it puts an intro right there, all I do is Alt T and gives me this label. I'm going to drag this one over here. This is for my sake as well as y'all's sake. If you guys understand where the verse and chorus is, then it makes everything easier. Chorus is where you put in your hook or and such, and then the verse is where you create the more lyrical content part. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. We are using FL Studio 12 is our DAW that we're on, and we are on 140 BPM. I believe that's the same BPM for We Got the Keys by Future and by DJ Khaled featuring Future and Jay-Z. But so the first main sound that you hear is that gong sound, and that's a Nexus sound. So this is an expansion, but you can use any bell or gong sound. It's a tubular bell, and this is a pattern, and it's just going from F sharp to C sharp to G sharp to C sharp. You can kind of see it's like dun 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 dun, and it was just a simple melody that we came up with. It's a very trap oriented melody. Nothing you could pretty much see how it's laid out. It's literally just simply just repeated like that. And we kind of changed the velocity, and what the velocity is how hard you hit the note. So it kind of just goes up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And if we are going to our mixer, I just wanted to rename that gong. Over here, we just got a parametric EQ and a reverb. You can ignore the gross beat because I don't think we use that. At least not on the gong. But yeah, to show you the melody one more time, here it is. And I can go ahead and play it for you too. Now, if you want to hear the gong without the reverb and parametric EQ, here's what it sounds like. And here's with it back on. A little more reverb, obviously. I'm going to pull that reverb down, though, actually, a little bit. It's a little too much. It's drowning it a little bit. So now we can go over, and I just have this gong playing for 2 measures, 13 seconds. Normally I would have the intro about this long, but I decided to make the intro an 8-bar length instead of the 4 bars, because DJ Khaled has decently long intros where he's just ranting, talking about how he has the keys and such. So I was thinking about adding a little build-up intro. And then so we go down to these cinematic strings. It's just the same exact pattern as the gong, but I think it's 1 octave higher. And then what I did was add in these lower melodies. So I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna play everything actually first. Now I selected all of these, and you can see they're actually louder, and these are quieter. So the velocity on these notes is tuned down. Now I'm gonna get rid of these. Now I added this melody just on top of this, and I did it all by hand. So I was just trying to figure out what would go well, and I kind of based upon the keys that I've already done. So F sharp, F sharp, G sharp, F sharp, F sharp. So you see, I'm making sure I'm still in range of the same notes. So that's what I did for that. If we go over here, we got parametric EQ and then some reverb. I'm not really much difference. Doesn't really do much. So I put the cinematic strings only in the choruses as you can see, as well as in the intro. And then we got these hits, which are just like a normal standard orchestral hit. And actually, before I go into orchestral hit, the cinematic strings were in part of Tone 2's Electra 2, which is in semi-real cinematic strings. That's if you have the expansions and such. So if we now look at this hit, and Electra 2 is designed by Tone 2, just like how Nexus is designed by ReFX. And those are third-party plugins that you would have to go to their websites to purchase and get. However, FL Studio does have some native plugins that you can use if you don't have the money to go get the third-party VSTs. Now, the hits are done in Nexus. They're in this 808 Mafia pack, but which is not a real pack. It's just some organized folder that I have to organize some of my sounds. But if you want to go get the sound, I believe it's in like classical and platinum hit or something. It's just a standard hit. I'll go ahead and pull it up. It just is on F sharp, and it's 1 octave lower than the gongs. Or no, it's like 2 octaves lower. Excuse me. Here's the sound. So just a normal little gong hit. Nothing too crazy, just F sharp. So before we go into the chorus, I cut a little segment right there from the gong and the cinematic strings. Didn't need to cut it from the hit because it already hit over there and it doesn't go over there. So to kind of show you what it sounds like, here it is. One of my music teachers that I had, or audio engineer teachers, would always talk about suspension and how eliminating instruments and then just bringing them all back can create this hold of suspension and make that impact even harder. So that was kind of what I was going for. So, and I think it worked pretty well. So we pretty much covered all the instruments until we get up to the pad, which is only featured in the second half of the chorus. So I'm going to show you now the snares. So here are the snares. All the drums that we used are from our drum kits. You can go to betaat.com, and if you go to our drum kits and downloads section, you can go see our drum kits that we have available. All of the sounds we use, drum-wise, 808s and such, are available online on our webpage and store. So I highly recommend that you all check that out. Very beneficial and high-quality sounds. My favorite 808 is in the drum kit, Beta School of Smoke. It's a brand new drum kit that we just released, and it has my favorite 808. I believe it's this one, actually. Yep, no, this is not it. That's a different 808. But, anyways, this snare, I'm going to play this. I mean, it's just a standard snare pattern. I mean, nothing too crazy, honestly. Have a little reverb if we pull it up. A little compression, reverb, and EQ. Nice little EQ setup there. Point of the EQ is cutting at that low end. I wanted to cut out some of the low end and the gongs and cinematic strings as well with the EQ so that we have room with that 808, because the 808 would be sitting on the low shelf. And when I mean low shelf, our 808 is going to be down in here. So you want to make sure you have room down in your low end. You don't want the frequencies to fight. And when the frequencies fight at the low end, then they tend to sound more muddy because it's harder to distinguish low bass frequencies. Now that's just a little side note. Here is the cymbal, just standard little hit. It's just and then here is our kick. Now this is a little bit more intricate, so I'll go ahead and play our 2 kicks that we got. Now if you play with the 808 here, here's what it sounds like now. It sounds pretty crazy. It sounds like a lot's going on. It kind of like speeds up the pace when you have more elements going on, but you don't want too much because then it starts sounding just random and garbage. So if we were to play that with our snare, here's what it sounds like. You can definitely hear that trap, clubby anthem vibe in there, like boom, 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 like it's pretty dope. We're getting there. That was a horrible beatbox imitation of it, but yeah. So I'm gonna turn on the cymbals now. We're gonna play it now. I have the kicks playing with the 808, but I don't have the kicks copying the 808. And the reason for that is because I was wanting, as I said earlier, more things to go off to almost fool the listener to think about how fast paced it is. And I wanted the kicks to add that extra oomph and power. And I believe I had the kicks even come out a little bit more in the mix than the 808, but that's just my personal way of mixing. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the hi-hats. Actually, the hi-hat system, what I normally do for hi-hats is I'll design the first half. So here's the first half, and then I'll copy it over to the second half, but then I'll make changes. So if you can see some of the similarities, we got some of the notes up here, got the starting right there. These are the same. These are the same. And then this is different. I try to change up the second half a little bit more so there's some variation. And how I do these really hard drills is how I select a note, then I press Alt U, then I go to time manipulation, and I pull it down. Then it'll drill it. Is like what I like to call a drill. And then I'm going to just exit out of that. And then for this, I just select the notes, right click, Shift E to pull up the select tool. Select them, Shift P to pull up the drawing tool. Then I right click down here for the velocity and I drag. So I could right click and drag. I could drag how I want the velocity to come up. And now I'm going to go ahead and play the hi-hats for you all. So pretty trappy. I'm going to pull up these 808s now. So here's the 808. Oh, wait. And then for the 808 settings, I do a cut by self. And I did tracking. Did some parametric EQ. And cut by self, what that does is whenever the 808 hits and then another one hits, it cuts the previous sound so the bass doesn't continue over and it sounds really muddy and wavy. So that's a trick that you want to do to make sure that your 808s can come out clean. I'm going to pull that up again. If you normally pull it up, you'll get this sample settings page. You want to go to your miscellaneous functions, and this is all in FL Studio 12. Remind you that this is the program. And we're going to go under group, and we're going to do cut self. Now we're going to pull this up. Now you can see where we have our melody and our 808 drums. So what I do, I had a couple slides because I've been noticing even a larger tendency of a lot of producers using the slides, especially in these anthem beats. In order to do that, you just need to click, double click, and slide. Boom. Or you can go up here and click that, and it'll just do it automatically. And then, so I have pretty much everything going off the hi-hats to 808 kicks, cymbals, snares, gongs, hits, cinematic strings. Then up here, I cut it for a little bit. Then it comes back on, and we add in these pads. Now here are the pads. They're the same melody as the strings right here, I believe. Yeah. So we're gonna go. They're actually the same everything. I literally just copied them over. Now here's the pad. Now what you can tell is like there's a little delay almost, like the attack, it doesn't hit initially. I purposely did that because it is a more of a background sound. It's going to be a sound that's going to add more texture and almost like a change up to the ear. It's not, the whole point of it is not to add in another melody to the beat, because the purpose of this beat is to pretty much be a simple banger anthem beat. I don't even know if it's considered anthem, but hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying. But this pad is mostly just to add texture and a change up of sound sonically for the listener. So I put it in only in the second half of the chorus. So, and you can tell. So we're going to go ahead and play right here. I was actually wrong. This is, I don't think, the same melody. We're gonna go pull this up real quick. Oh yeah, I was right. It is the same melody. So yeah, you could kind of tell like faintly where that pad comes in. So that was the point of the pad and such. So you can see how we structured it and such. Now going on to the verse. I'm not gonna cover this chorus because no point, it's just the same exact chorus up to over here. But so the verse, what I did for this little section of 808s, what you see right here, I just grabbed the 808 and I just pulled, and we get our slice tool, I just sliced it just like this. This is a way that you could change up your patterns, and I call this the lazy route. But yeah, see, kind of messed up cutting right there, but you could change up your patterns like that. Now, when we go over and we come over to here, I made some changes into the master channel, and in the master channel, all I did was add in a fruity filter. And in the fruity filter, I created an automation for the mix through, and in the mix through, you can see this is actually for the mix to allow the filter to come on. And then there was one more automation for the cutoff filter, or a cutoff frequency, and I'll play what that would sound like right now. And the purpose of adding in this filter was to show some movement through the track, and where we then re-add our snares from earlier. So it makes this transition from almost like a, how would I say, like an intro verse setup, and then into a actual verse section where we get the kicks and the snares coming back on. So, and then, so this lighter pink, almost purple automation is actually in reference to the cutoff frequency, which you could just create a automation clip right there. And I just drew it in, and what it does is the cutoff frequency comes up, then it comes down, and this one was the filter mix one, so the mix comes through all the way into the filter, then it turns off, and as it turns off, the cutoff comes on. So it's a smooth transition from the filter to no filter. And then it comes in with the snare, and then towards the end I cut off, not towards the end, but a little past the middle of the verse, I cut off the 808 because we only, instead of having a 16 bar verse, which would probably be more realistic for a DJ Khaled type beat, I actually did a 12 bar verse. But to show more movement and not make the beat boring, I cut off these 808s right here, and then I put in a master gross beat effect, which only comes on right here, which it does a little stutter. Here's what the effect looks like. It will go back 1 second right here, and then at the last bar or at the last beat, it goes back another like half second. I mean, it goes back another second for half a beat. Now, what that effect will sound like, well, hopefully gross beat will work. Sometimes gross beat acts up. So I'm going to play right here and start it right here. And since since our gross beat is on the master, anything going through the master would be affected. That would mean pretty much all of, I didn't mean to do that, but all these mixers are going to be going through the master. So that means the hit, gong, snare, cymbal, kick, bass kick, 808 will all be affected by this. And then I don't have any of the hi-hats going through the verse. That was just my personal preference. I added the hi-hats at the last little segment, which then gets cut off to then go into the chorus. And I don't cut off the instrument, I just cut off the drums. So here kind of what it sounds like. I'm going to go back right here. And then we go into the chorus where you hear the cinematic strings come back in, where you only heard them prior in the other chorus and then the intro. So, and that's pretty much it. I mean, all we do from this is probably add another two verses. So total of 3 verses and maybe like 4 choruses. And then you got a DJ Khaled song. We're already up towards 2 minutes on this whole beat, so you're looking at a 4-minute song, and it sounds about right for a DJ Khaled song, 4 to 5 minutes, because he has so many features and such. So yeah, this is Andrew Peer here of Beta AT Production and Publishing. If you found this video helpful, be sure to leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing really helps us a lot. So yeah, and I'll see you all later.